Welcome everybody to today's community meeting. As always, if you'd like to, please add your name to the agenda. And if you have anything that you'd like to discuss, throw it on the agenda as well. We'll kick things off. The first thing, I mentioned this last time, but I just wanted to show the doc again, just to make sure if you haven't seen this, please do take a look. We have a proposal out for updating Recore with a second iteration focused on some API changes for simplification and improving the deployment so that we can have more log operators, driving down cost and making the logs easier to maintain. Please do take a look. This summarizes our learnings from Recore v1 and talks more about what we'd like to do in Recore v2. If you don't want to read a doc, I'll also plug the presentation that we'll give at SigstoreCon as well. That'll go over this. But in the coming weeks, we'll also have a much more detailed design doc that will go into details around the API, which we'll circulate with the clients as well to get some feedback on. William, you want to kick things off with Python updates?
Sure. It's just a pretty small update. So we released the 3.5 series of Sigstore Python. All in all, this is a pretty small change that anybody who's currently depending on it shouldn't notice any API breakage. Or CLI breakage, but we received some feedback from Linux distributions that are looking to integrate Sigstore bundle verification as part of the CPython changes that I'll mention later. And as a result, we've added some plumbing subcommand for them to use to sort of automate the operational aspects of updating trust groups and things like that.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I think related, we have similar commands that we want to add for cosign as well to make it a little bit easier to construct and deconstruct bundles as well. So those PRs are in staging and in the queue of things to get reviewed. So we'll hopefully have those in soon too. I don't think there were any other client updates. I know Ruby work is ongoing, and I'll also plug Samuel's talk, which at SigstoreCon, which will talk a bit more about his learnings from building a Sigstore clients.
Oh, I guess we should say the first beta release of Sigstore Ruby is now public. So anybody who wants to try the first cut of the Ruby client should go ahead and try it.
Fantastic. I did not realize that. All right, let me add that right now. Cool. Awesome. Well, Samuel, great work. It's really, really exciting to see that come out. And I think that's got what, full bundle support, conformance with the other clients.
Yep, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, please do give this a try and pass along any feedback. I don't think we had any updates for the public good infrastructure. Since we're coming into November, I'll mention that we'll probably do some code freezes around Thanksgiving and around the holidays at the end of December as well, just where we'll halt any updates. So if there's any changes that you're going to make to the servers, to Fulcio and to Recore and want those rolled out, do them earlier than later, as we'll start freezing things to minimize the chance of any sort of breakage over the holidays. Tracy, you want to give updates for document for the architecture docs?
Yes. Yeah, I've been porting over the architecture docs into a repo where we can keep working on them. So I want to flag, I have updated the README to now reflect the old landing page. So that lists out all the documents you can find and what they're for. And then it also goes a little into the goals of what is the point of these documents. So it covers like the client one and the public deployment one, as well as kind of touching on our route to standardization, where this will form the basis of that. So yeah, take a look. These are meant to be living documents that reflect the current state. So if there are changes, for example, in the client that we're adding in, we should keep these docs up to date. There's a couple of pull requests for the last two docs to go in. Recore spec, I did get a whole bunch of reviews, so I've got a little feedback to respond to, but this should be good to go. Subject to the workflow issue, Hayden. I don't know if that's still. Oh no, it's not. Okay. Great.
I'm not signed in, so I don't know if I'll see it, but we can remove that workflow or something.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed to be blocking the merge. But anyway, I'll finish tracking all the issues, and then put a link to the Rico v2 doc. And the public deployment, it's also there for feedback. This needs some work. So I'm going to do one more pass at addressing the low-hanging fruit in the feedback. Everything else that's a bit more major, I'll push into issues to address in kind of major edits. But yeah, the plan is to have all these in place definitely by SigStoreCon, and start directing people to these when they want some more details on the nitty-gritty of how everything works, and yeah, just work to keep them up to date as things evolve. Great. Any questions, comments?
I'll mention that for this public deployment spec, it would be really great to have a lot more community input on this, as effectively this is our transparency around how we operate the public instance. So if you're a private deployer and you have some feedback that you'd like to give that would be helpful to reflect in this doc, or if you read this and go, oh, I'd like to hear more about X, Y, or Z in the public deployment, please do take a look and leave your feedback on the doc.
Yeah, well said. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy, for that update. I just wanted to quickly mention the doc modernization effort has been ongoing. We are currently working through updates to the per language clients, or more accurately, we are adding references to the per language clients in the documentation, as currently we've only had references to cosign. We've had a bit of back and forth. Thank you, William, for your reviews on the Python one. But what we've landed on is, I think, a good separation between what should live in the READMEs in the individual repos, where there will be more technical details, and in the docs, where it will be a bit more high level about how to use this, and some installation instructions. So we'll be going through each of those. If you're a maintainer on a Sigstore language SDK, expect a ping at some point to take a look at this as well. Alrighty, were there any more updates for any of the projects in Sigstore? Cool, so we'll jump into outreach and events. If you haven't heard me mention this already, SigStoreCon, we are now 2 weeks out from it. So please, if you'd like to attend, take a look at registration. Frankly, I think it's quite a good deal. It includes lunch and swag for the low cost of $50, and a trip out to Salt Lake City as well. But yeah, I think it'll be really great. If you haven't seen it, a couple weeks ago we posted the schedule, so please do take a look. We're just waiting on a couple keynote announcements, and then we'll have our finalized schedule. We just made an update yesterday to it, so lunch is extended a bit, and then the day will end a little bit earlier, around a little bit before 6 p.m. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message or post them on Slack. If you are coming, we're really looking forward to seeing you at the event. I'm really excited about this. I think we have a fantastic set of talks from a wonderfully diverse community. So looking forward to seeing y'all if you are there. If anyone was from Sauce Fusion, I'd love to hear any updates. I don't know if we have anyone, or if anyone. What, David? Do you want to give an update?
Sure. I mean, just Sauce Fusion in general, I presume. So Sauce Fusion was held in Atlanta, in Georgia. If you missed it, you missed it. You should have been there. We were actually worried earlier on. It appears that a lot of people had a little trouble getting approvals for their travel. So earlier on, we were looking, like 100-ish attendees, which we thought was ridiculous. But it basically more than double. I don't know the exact number, but I know it was way over 200 attendees. Great conference. Bruce Schneier, Cory Doctorow gave some keynotes. We had lots of presentations by lots of issues, lots of different folks. The good news is, if you missed it, I can't replace the you missed it, you weren't there, but I can point to the presentations. We are going to post all of the presentations on YouTube. We're trying to get that wrapped up now, unless there was some objection, somebody didn't allow us, but usually that's not a problem. So we might not be able to get like some of the keynotes, but everybody else we should be able to post. So we have to have permission, but as long as we get permission, we're going to do it. So lots of good stuff, and I was one of the speakers. You can skip that one if you don't want to hear that one, but I'm happy to answer any specific questions.
I'm glad to hear it went well. Do you know if there's plans to do it again next year?
Yes, there are plans. I don't know if anything's been posted yet. One of the basically everybody who actually attended said they were glad they were there. But a lot of people also struggled to get approvals from their organizations. It's a new conference and it wasn't co-located with anything. So I think the plan is to co-locate it with another conference, probably KubeCon. And that may make it a lot easier for people to get the approvals that they need to go out and go do the thing. So I don't know if very much has been public yet, but yes, the plan is to do more. We're going to try to take steps to deal with some of the challenges that people had getting there.
Awesome. Thank you for the update. Looking forward to checking out the talks on YouTube. For another exciting conference that we had recently, Tracy, do you want to give an update for the Transparency Summit?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of weeks ago in London, in the UK, we had the Transparency Dev Summit. This is the core kind of folks who are working on transparency in different forms. So the original, with the certificate transparency folks, there were a lot of those folks. And then I'd argue Sigstore is kind of the next big success story of technology using transparency. So I did write a summary post with some highlights. I think it was clear from the event how transparency technology is like raised the bar for what we determine is a good level of trust. So there's a lot of looking at how that's evolved in different ecosystem. And I will plug, there were two, like Sigstore was really well represented. Hayden gave an overview of Sigstore and specifically looking at the transparency aspects of it. And William gave a deep dive as well into PyPI, which are really good talks. So I've shared the playlist, so do check those out. And one other interesting topic, well, there's also some aspects of key transparency, which is kind of an emerging field, which was pretty interesting to have folks from Proton and Meta and Apple there to discuss that. The other side of it there were like cross-cutting concerns that affect all different transparency communities. And the big one being discussed was witnessing. So the whole idea that you can log things and you can sign things, but if you don't sort of close the loop and have people verifying those and monitoring and making sure that putting the verifiable into the verifiable logs, then maybe your system isn't as great as you think it is. So I think a lot of food for thought for the community as we evolve to make sure that we're kind of addressing that in the next stage of growth. But yeah, I highly recommend folks check out the talks and the blog post. And yeah, happy to answer any questions. William, anything to add?
I mean, I think you summarized it really well. I was really excited to see all the representation of binary transparency stuff, since I think that's going to be a big part of the baseline expectations around index security going forwards. So I'm excited to continue those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think Sigstore will be kind of the next place to pick up a lot of those topics.
I'll add that I honestly was just so excited by this entire conference because it's such a niche topic, and it was cool to see so many different companies and organizations and individuals of representation there that also just were so excited about this topic. So it was a great community to and a great opportunity to have discussions around this space. I'm also very excited about binary transparency. I think I'm quite interested in key transparency as well, not necessarily with keys themselves, but with the data structures used to create key transparency. I think there's a lot more applications for how authenticated dictionaries can be leveraged by package managers, by Sigstore. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, definitely interesting space to watch. Oh, and I'll do a last thing on the picture there is in tiles, because I think the other aspect of the community which is evolving is the general move of everybody's looking to switch to tile architectures. So like with the RICO v2 proposal Hayden's put forward, CT and other communities are figuring out how to make that switch to get the benefits of just cost and making things easier to run. So yeah, I think that will be a big thing in helping people adopt logs at scale.
And I'll as you're going through the talks, I think you'll notice a meme that's used throughout, which is the how to draw an owl meme. I think that's going to be the official mascot of the conference and maybe the whole transparency space now.
Yeah, it's a good one to go check out. I won't spoil the surprise.
Awesome. Thanks for the update, Tracy. William, you want to give some exciting news about PyPI?
Yeah. So I guess there's two big news items, one for PyPI and one for the CPython side of things. So the big news on PyPI, which I mentioned at Sauce Fusion as well, is that attestation support is now live. So we've had it in progress for a couple of months in various stages of like early release. But as of last week, if you enable attestations on your publishing workflow, we'll generate them for you using your trusted publishing identity, upload to PyPI, PyPI will verify them, and then reserve them back to users for verification. So that entire flow is now complete. The last remaining big item there is to flip the default on the publishing workflow to enable by default, which if you look at that PR, it's literally a single line change, which demonstrates how sort of tightly we've bound this to trusted publishing so that users don't have to think about the defaults at all. From there, the bigger item is downstream verification, so getting pip install itself to actually verify these, probably by doing a sort of locking the identity model where you install once, lock your identity, and then on subsequent updates, confirm that identity is consistent with the previous version of the package you've seen. We're working on a verification story for that. We're basically building up an entire pip plugin architecture so that we can inject in verification during install, since that's the most tractable way forward given pip's architectural constraints. Happy to talk more about the details there if people are interested, but I'll stop for the sake of brevity.
But yeah,
then,
maybe not today, but I'd love a presentation on that or a demo at some point.
Yeah, I can definitely put together a demo. Once we flip the default on the publishing action, I'm going to prepare a PR blitz. So we'll have a blog post on the Trail of Bits blog, as well as on the PyPI blog, Sigstore blog, OpenSSF, etc. Just to make sure that as the message gets out about the feature.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great.
And then I wanted to highlight this one. This one is not my work, but I think it's really cool. I want to highlight the cool work that Seth's doing. So there's another PEP 761, which officially switches the CPython release process over to Sigstore bundles. So CPython has already been generating Sigstore bundles for about 2 years now, but they've always been adjacent to the existing official signing workflow, which is PGP. However, starting next year, the release manager for CPython will be someone who's never created a PGP key. So Seth and the other release managers have considered, now is a good time as any to officially switch over to Sigstore bundles. This PEP has a associated thread, which I've linked on the discussion forum. There's a lot of really useful feedback from the Linux distributions and other downstreams about what this means for them. And the good news is that most of the feedback is constructive. It's, if you're going to do this, here's the things we need. And going from there, we can, in fact, support this model. I think one of the interesting takeaways from that was that Seth asked Debian how they were currently verifying the PGP signatures on CPython, and Debian's response was, "We aren't." So the takeaway here is that we're uncovering things that already weren't verified, and I think that alone is a win. So yeah, follow along with that thread, follow along with the PEP for more details.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty big just in terms of like PGP. Took us a long way in the beginning and highlighted signing to so many people. But yeah, this is like a nice way to signal where Sigstore is at in terms of maturity, and yeah, and people sort of seeing the need to have that full verification flow. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think this is also a nice opportunity to just have a discussion about what it means to verify, not just to sign as well. You know, if ecosystems want to choose, well, we still need PGP for some reason, let's make sure that if we're doing verification, we're doing it as expected.
Yeah.
Just because I know, you know, William, you've done a lot of research in this space and found many cases where PGP signatures are either not verified at all or not being verified correctly.
Yep.
So I think it's a nice opportunity to force the conversation. I'm really, really excited about Seth's work here. Awesome. Thanks for giving that update. Alrighty, David.
Yeah, so this is a quick appeal, and this may already have happened. My apologies if it hasn't, but I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, closing the loop a little bit. So I was asked to create a couple bullets, highlights of, hey, what's been going on in this last year. And I realized, wait a minute, are we covering Sigstore? If you are, if you've already submitted highlights for the year 2024 to somebody on the OpenSSF staff, great. But if not, can I talk somebody into writing something, because you guys have done a lot of cool stuff, and I want to make sure you get some credit for the cool stuff. So, you know, does not need to be dissertation length. Frankly, a bullet point would be better than nothing. So, you know, it can be long, it can be short. The trick will be writing it in a way that someone who's not very familiar with Sigstore will still get the gist of, you know, what you did, and probably even more important, why that's important. So the trick is, if you don't already haven't already done something, need something by October 31st, which, as you can see, is months away. Oh wait, that's 2 days. But it doesn't need to be long. It's just we want to make sure you get credit for the cool stuff that you've done.
David, is this different than the doc on the 2024 highlights for all OpenSSF projects?
No, this is the same thing.
Okay, I think, did you have a link to that? I think we gave an update, and I want to say I highlighted everything, though. I want to double check that.
I got a different link because I think it was Angela wanted me to fill in some stuff. So it may seem weird, but I don't think I'm actually seeing the full set. I'm just seeing hey, can you fill in these things? I'm going, I could. I want to talk about Sigstore. Have they already sent in something? So that seems like the left and right hand probably need to talk. It's probably true, but I just want to make sure that you're not left out is my key point. Sending it in twice, we can figure out duplicates and get rid of it. It's the 0 times I'm worried about.
That makes sense. Let me look for where this link is, because I thought we'd filled this out previously. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything, because we went through this exercise of chatting with community members to make sure that we highlighted everything.
Great. Okay. I wasn't sure if that had happened. So if it's already happened and you got that something in, fabulous. My goal has been achieved. It's very much I wasn't sure if you had been, and I'm just trying to make sure that you are. All right.
So I'll mention, I think I just found, assuming this is the right doc, and I'll show everyone here them just to make sure everyone agrees. We have at the very bottom, the last one, Sigstore highlights, which includes, I think, William, I assume, just wrote something about Homebrew, which includes this as well.
Okay. Can you post that? Is that a link you can send to me? I just want to make sure that I'm got the same ones.
Yeah. I'll send you it over Slack.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yay. All right. So you've done great. That's what I'm double checking, because I was asked separately to write some things. I'm going, I could write a little bit about Sigstore, but they should be, they would be the better person to ask. So here I am. Just closing the loop and making sure it's closed.
Thank you for coming though, and mentioning this though, because I also definitely want to make sure we're highlighting all of the exciting achievements that we've had within the community.
Yeah, like you probably should mention the conference, you know, and some of the and I think the trick will be it's okay to mention like these new things and PEPs. You just got to be careful and note that they're not, you know, they're proposed, they're not committed yet, but at least they're proposed and being discussed or something like that.
Do you know when this is locked in? Just because we didn't mention SigstoreCon, but I'd love to highlight some of the talks that come out of SigstoreCon as well.
It gets increasingly hard right now through the 31st. It's absolutely edit. Early November, and I've forgotten the date. It gets a little harder, and then it gets harder and harder. Especially once they send it. It takes time for graphics to make all the prettiness that some folks really want. But once they do that, it's much harder to make edits. So you want to make edits now is the quick answer.
Okay, that makes sense. I will make one last edit for PEP. What is this? 761, and then I think we're good to go.
Yeah, but again, you know, make sure it's not done if it's not done, and try to briefly explain importance. Which for some of these I realize is a little trickier, but for a lot of the readers, that's what they need. They may not even know what a PEP is. So, but having an idea that, oh, I've heard about Python and this is helping me do X. Great. Okay, you've probably done this drill before.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for mentioning this. I'm always excited to see that. I know. I think it was a OSS Japan. Somebody had mentioned there were some statistics. We should also get those updated too, because there were some great graphs that just talked about Sigstore and Salsa adoption. That I think we have some updated metrics for, if that would be helpful.
Oh, it would, and I don't know about those, so I'm curious to see them too. I know you're disappointed. I failed to be omniscient again.
That's all good. Feel free to ping me. Let me know how I can be of help.
Okay. Thank you. Really, actually, thank you, everybody here. That's all I had.
Awesome. Well, I think the last thing to quickly mention is next meeting will be on the day of SigstoreCon. So I assume everyone here is, of course, going to be at SigstoreCon. So we'll be canceling the meeting, and then the 26th is the week of Thanksgiving, which I assume people will be out, or it will just be overall low attendance. So we'll skip the next two meetings, and then in a month we'll reconvene. If you are presenting at SigstoreCon, or if you know somebody that is, let them know that I'm going to come asking for blog posts at some point. I'd love to have a bunch of blog posts for all of the talks that are given, where we can share these on the Sigstore blog, and then have a larger blog post that we'll also have on the OpenSSF summarizing SigstoreCon and all the talks. So that is to come. Awesome. Was there anything else anyone wanted to talk about? Alrighty, well, as always, it was great to see everyone. If you're going to be at SigstoreCon, come say hi. Otherwise, we'll see everyone again in a month.
See you all there.
Well, thank you.